Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Jim DeFrank, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at Isuzu Finance of America. Thanks for joining me, Jim.
Pleasure, Jesse. Appreciate the invitation.
No, and that's a lot of like words to get on a business card. So I'm glad I got it right the first time.
Yeah, acronyms, right? You can't spell them out.
No, we can't.
It's just a title.
Just
Just a title.
Jim, once again, thank you for your time. And for the people who might not be had the pleasure to meet you yet, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career in equipment finance?
Sure, thank you. Jim DeFrank, Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer of Isuzu Finance of America. Yeah, Jesse and I were just discussing time in business. So this is my 40th year in the equipment finance and leasing business industry. I started out from a company called the Associates, which a lot of you are probably familiar with. A long time ago, I joined their management training program, which was pretty interesting. And I remember showing up for work right out of college, didn't know anything. And well, here's the job. You know, it's a training program, which was really good because you did all the departments. So you learned everything there was to do, from collections to posting payments. You know, you used to have to post your own payments, insurance, titles, fundings, all the stuff. But I remember they kept, the branch manager kept saying, your management trainee LTD. I'm like, limited. He goes, no, lower than dirt. So you got to do all the fun work. First time I walked in the door, they said, there's a cabinet over there. It had two credenza drawers full of titles, and they all owed late charges. That was my first job out of college. Start calling, dial for dollars. It was quite interesting.
Well, and you kind of put that into perspective. If you tell someone that today, they'll be like,
yeah, it's crazy. A lot of waived late charges these days. So anyways, I took the job with them. What I liked about it was they had a career path. You know, it was a clear path on what you can do and where you can go with the company. And, you know, it was a great training ground because they started you out in collections, right? And they figured if you can collect, then we're going to move you over to credit and see if you can buy it. So you want to make sure you can collect it, and which helps you buy stuff if you know what we have to collect it. And then once they know you can buy it, then they want to know if you can sell it. Can you manage it? So if you can do all these things, then you get promoted into different positions and then eventually manage the entire branch. At the time, it was a branch system. Great training ground. I spent about 14 years with them. It was all good. Then I went to a company called Oryx, if you remember them, with yellow iron mostly, and still some trucks, which was pretty good. And from there, I got pulled over to, was at the time, Mercedes-Benz Credit. Freightliner had just bought the Ford commercial trucks. So they started a Sterling truck finance group, and I helped them get that up and running. And was there for a few years, about 4 years. And about that time, American Express Business Finance had gone out and bought some brokers and some little boutique finance companies. And I happen to know a couple of guys that own one of them. And they asked me what I knew about truck financing. So I knew a lot. I had actually just written the vocational truck finance business for at that time Mercedes-Benz Credit, because back then 95% of what they did was just over the road tractor trailer. So it was the business plan to push more into the vocational business. So I went over there in like 2001, and we grew that very fast. It was, you know, the timing was a little rough. The market had bottomed out on the truck business, was starting to come back. Then we walk in the door to a dealer with American Express on the name. It carried some weight. So
absolutely,
we did good. Yeah. So we were growing pretty fast. And then in 2004, Key Equipment Finance bought it. So then we were part of that group. And this was a vendor model we had built. So that was not really their bailiwick, I guess, but we grew that business. Oh geez, I think we hit about 700 or 800 million by the time I left. But during that time, it was interesting. We were courting Isuzu Commercial Trucks of America to be one of their preferred lenders.
Hmm.
So I'd spent about a year back and forth doing that, and we were very close. We had an agreement, and we were going to go to it and get it signed up for '07. And I got a call towards the end of '06 saying they're getting their own finance company. It's like, oh, okay. So we spent a year doing that, but
But
okay.
thank you for doing all the groundwork and showing us what to do. We appreciate you for that.
Well, it was great connections, great
Yeah,
networking,
yeah.
and so what happened is a couple of weeks later, I get a call from some guy in Japan saying, "Hey, we're gonna start our own finance company, and we got your name from the Isuzu guys, and be interested in starting that up for us." And this was '06. Things were booming. I mean, right before the crash, things were great, and jumping ship. It was a leap of faith. It really was, because things were going great. Business was good. Everybody's making money. Everybody's paying. So in my mind, growing up through the associates and those times, I always thought it'd be cool to run a captive finance company, believe it or not. And that was just in the back of my mind for all those years. And here came the opportunity. And so I took it. And March of '07, we started. There was 4 of us, I think, to start. And I showed up in New York, and I'm like, okay, what do we got? And they're like, we incorporated. So we had to get licensed in every state. They had hired an attorney to start doing it, but what I found were they were all consumer licensed. So I had to go back and get all commercial. So we were doing that. We got our logo, we created contracts, everything. It was really ground floor, white paper, blank sheet of paper. So it was kind of fun, grueling. But we got it up and running. Rough start in '07, just because it was, we had nothing to leverage off of except the Isuzu name, right?
Yeah.
So we had to prove ourselves for the first year or two to get the program business from Isuzu, because they used other finance companies at the time, and we were trying to be exclusive to that. And we rolled it out Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, West. So in about a year, we were nationwide, and it was a good way to do it. So yeah, we did that, and from then we've done very well with them. It's been a good ride. It's been 15 years now.
So during that time, the '07 to '09, like starting a fleet captive based on just what I remember when I had some customers that were like, "Hey, my truck is at stop 16. Come pick it up.
Keys
I
are
can't
in
afford get keys are in it." Like, what did that do?
Yeah.
Sorry to ask that question. I was more of a curiosity, because I can imagine
That's
Japan's
a
like,
good question.
it was going so well. What's going on?
It's a great question. So it's funny because we kind of went, oh no. We had hired about 9 salesmen, had to lay most of them off. We literally, everybody in the office took pay cuts just because there was no business. And what ended up turning out to be the silver lining was all the finance companies that had these portfolios dragging them down, we didn't have it. We had a fresh, clean slate. So we were just sitting there, yeah, bring it in, bring us the business. So when everybody else kind of pulled in their horns, we were accepting business. So it actually turned out to be pretty good for us.
Okay.
But it was slow. I mean, I think that one of the low point in that cycle, Isuzu sold like 6,000 or 7,000 trucks. That's not a lot, So, and that's all we do business with is Isuzu dealers.
Right.
So, to give you an idea of it's a vendor model, of course, and that's really our world, is those 300 dealers. Now we'll finance anything they sell that's in the vocational wheelhouse, but that's what we live with. So.
Well, that
Sometimes it's tough, like right now.
Well, that's because there's no supply. We'll get into that here, but
Right.
like going into like COVID, I remember like some of the fleet customers that I had at the time were like, "Oh my God, what's going on here?" Then it turned out to be like, no, even more demand.
Yeah, that was, we had about 20% of our customers want skip, extensions or skip payments. So we accommodated all those guys, and that was just a smart move. But yeah, then it's like a freight train coming with demand. And the problem was all the dealers canceled their orders, right? Because they didn't think they're going to sell anything. So the manufacturer in Japan, Isuzu, canceled all the parts, and all those parts manufacturers canceled all the raw material. And then when they tried to ramp it up so quick, I mean, I think that final quarter of 20, they had more orders than the year before, just in the quarter. That's how crazy it was, and they just couldn't keep up. And then COVID hit with like entire plants shutting down and wherever they're sourcing their parts. So you have one part holding up the entire production. That's kind of still happening today. So
it's almost like the equivalent of rubbernecking, and now it's traffic.
Yeah, it's so there are trucks and that they say they call building them shy. So they build everything they can, and there's like one clamp or something missing. So they build them out and they park them. And I don't know how many thousands and thousands of every manufacturer is doing that right now. So it's kind of crazy.
So that's when I drive by some of these dealerships and they're saying there's no inventory, and I see like thousands of these things. I'm like, you're missing.
Yeah, they're missing something. And then so then what's happening is as those parts come in, there aren't enough shippers to get them to the dealers, so they stack them up there. And I saw some dealers want to go get them themselves, which may be a viable option. But yeah, it's just this vicious circle right now, and you're probably looking at another 6 months to a year easy before it starts loosening up a bit.
So someone comes now to one of your dealers and they want to purchase, a truck. What is that? How far out are they?
It depends on the truck, of course, but okay. I think everything's been allocated for 2023 already. I think maybe the first half. So probably the second half of next year. Okay. I don't know, but that changes daily. If some of these parts manufacturers can catch up, then that's going to change. But right now, it's sad for these sales guys. They don't even want to answer the phone. Yeah, sorry, can't help you.
I went from a hunter to a farmer to I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah. I mean, you could take an order, but you don't know when it's going to come in. Right. So, I mean, I saw a deal yesterday. It was approved in last year. Truck just came in end of last year. So almost 10 months, something like that, and the pricing has changed many times since. So it gets a little convoluted when you got an approval from a quarter ago and the rates went up 100 basis points. It's a little rude awakening for the customer and show them how much their payment went up. But it's just
I was going to ask that, like, what do you do at that point in time? Be like, sorry, this is our cost of funds. We really can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to put all the legalese in there. Our rates are good for 30 days. Approval is good for 90. The program stuff, the subsidized stuff, that's the tricky part, because we do those for 6 months. So we lock those for 6 months, which is very hard to do in this environment. And come June or December, we make sure if they have an approval and it's not going to fund, that they know, we'll give them another 30 days after the program's over to get it funded, but it's just sometimes just not going to happen.
Well, I mean, that maybe their silver lining is, the residual on your existing stuff went up. So maybe that helps offset. So
truck values are through the roof. And our off lease. So I can tell you, back in 2020, beginning of 2020, we had about 265 trucks in inventory. And a lot of them are really old. So we were trying to figure out to get it cleaned up, and COVID hits, and I don't think we have any for sale right now. I know we cleaned out all that inventory. Probably 70% of our customers just go on extension because they can't get a new truck. So they just keep making payments. We have a few that'll turn them in rarely. But typically the dealer that gets it will buy it. So a little easier process these days. So, and then the values are so high, it's crazy. Some of them are worth what they sold them for originally.
Yeah, I want to
4 years ago.
Brooke, my significant other, bought her Ford Raptor 4 years ago, Jim. And I think it's worth almost the same exact amount.
Right.
Yeah. It's like,
that's what's happening.
Okay.
So, and then you get into like shipping costs. So a container of chassis, 3 or 4, pre-pandemic was 7 or 8,000. Now it's like 25 to 30.
Now is that tariff related? Is that tariff related or more just yeah? Sorry, we don't need to go down that. We don't need to go down that hole. But I was just
I think it's just shipping companies gouging is what they're doing. But there's a lack of containers, and part of it is all these companies pre-order, like they didn't want to get stuck without having stuff again, so they pre-ordered it, and there's the warehouses are full. So then they store them in the containers and they can't get them back empty. Whole lot of different things happening. But
and then when workers don't show up, I have a sore throat. COVID.
I have a friend of mine works in a plastic plant, and they pay, if you show up every day, you get a little bonus every week. If you just show up, because they can't run full shifts because people just don't want to work. Anyway, that'll get cured sooner than later, I think.
That's interesting thoughts. So you're in New York, right?
Yeah, our office is in Purchase, New York.
Okay. Are you from the East Coast originally? Is that where you were for associates?
Chicago, Cubs fan.
Okay. Who was I? I was doing one of these last week with Bob Nagel. I didn't know he was from Chicago. He's he runs Finova Capital. He used to be with First Data. Centennial. So
yeah, so I actually, my first job out of college was in Peoria, Illinois. So in my 13 or 14 years, I moved 6 times that company. So
oh boy. Okay.
And that's okay. I mean, that was the deal if you wanted to sign up for it. So
it's better. My first studio out of college was in Yonkers, which is not far away.
Oh, is that right?
Purchase.
That's 20 minutes from our office. Yeah. It's a Isuzu dealer in Yonkers.
So from a workplace perspective, were you guys an essential business? Like, did you go in the office during the pandemic? What does the model look like now?
Yeah, we were essential business, and mostly the managers showed up every day. Now we're kind of a hybrid, 3 days in the office, 2 days out. And we require Monday because we have all our Monday weekly meetings and stuff. So that's been interesting. We're looking to hire a remarketing manager, and it's just an employees market. They're like, we want this much money and 100% remote. And we're like, oof. Can't get over the money part, let alone the 100% remote. So, we're thinking about being more hybrid or more remote. But I mean, for example, today, transformer blew up near our office. We have no power in the office at all. That's why I'm home today. And it's working. We're getting business done. So we're kind of forced to do everything remote today, and it works if you work it well enough. I do think people working from home can be more productive. They're not commuting. I know when I did it for about a year and a half, and I got up, was on the computer 7 a.m, turn it off at 10 at night. You're just more time of productivity, I think, for most people. Some people, they just can't do it, and they know it, and that's okay. So.
Yeah, it's unique. I mean, I've been working remotely since 2011.
Wow.
the biggest challenge. But I've always been on the business development side. I mean, us sales guys, we work 40% of the time we're on the golf course, and that's the perception, right?
That's the perception.
So, what's interesting is when I see like my team online at like 10 o'clock at night or anything, it's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Don't overwork, let's sit and wait. But the only thing that changed for me was now it's like the kids were home, and it's like, now there's no break.
Yeah. I learned that my first week working out of the house. Dog was barking. My first conference call, dog was going nuts. I'm like, ugh. But you figure it out. So, but I have a guy in my office. He's like, man, I can't work from home. I'm like, cool, come in the office. So.
No, I think I would be, I don't know, kind of get what you ask for, right? Until you get stuck in traffic and you're like, why am I doing this? I wanted to talk about, like the trade associations, Jim, like ELFA, and kind of what they've meant to your 40 years in equipment finance. Because I want to say, like, you and I probably run into each other 3 or 4 times a year, and it seems like it's always at one of those events.
Yeah, those have been instrumental in what we did because they have such good resources. Not only the networking at the events, but just the data and the research they've done is accessible. And, if there's a question about something, that's the first place I'll go and look on the ELFA website. So, yeah, and they listen to suggestions, and it's awesome. It's a, it's a pretty big association, but you have access to everybody, so right. I enjoy it.
And people are rather welcoming for the most part, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just got on the research committee, so I'm excited about that for the ELFA. Or is it the ELFA or the
I think it's the ELFF. Like I like Kelly, neighbor, don't
foundation.
Pay attention to this. Don't pay attention to this.
Right, the foundation. Sorry, Nancy.
No,
so I'm excited about that. It's good. Sorry.
Oh no, I've been corrected a few times because Scott Thacker corrected me quite a few times because I was like, the ELFF, and he goes, no, it's the Equipment Leasing and Finance Foundation, Jesse. And I'm like, all right, man. Sorry if I'm lazy and like acronyms.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a great place to network, and the shows are great. We've used it all. Yeah. We've met, good people, companies at those events, and through the ELFA websites and stuff. So it's been good.
So if you had to go back to 2007, 2008, what would you have done differently starting a business from basically scratch?
Well, I don't know what I could have done differently. I don't know. One thing I'd have done is gotten US money sooner, because we use Japanese banks for everything, and that's just their culture. But I think it would have been smart to do that sooner. So we're looking, anybody?
Hey, we get quite a few people watching these. We get a lot of people watching these now. So hey, reach out to Jim. That's I mean, there's always one of those things where traditionally, I mean, JDR is my third service provider that I've worked for in equipment finance. I've always been on the service provider side. One of the intriguing things about going to a smaller company was you have more of a say and less red tape. Sure, you can kind of relate to that. And but you get what you ask for, where it's like, well, hey, have you thought about this? And it's like, yeah, go do it. And it's like, me?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when we first started, it was we're directing a boat. Like, it's very easy to maneuver. Now it's a big ship and a little harder to maneuver and get things done. But, we just keep it pointed in the right direction. I mean, the bigger you got, the harder it was to get more people involved. So, yeah, I liked it early on.
300 dealers. How many employees do you guys have? And are you nationwide?
Well, we just have our office in New York.
Okay.
With back office and front end credit and everything, probably 45 or 50 people, something like that. It varies. I mean, right now we're down a few and we're looking, so yeah. So we run a pretty lean ship.
Got it. Anyone in, what some people call upstate New York, which I'm from Watkins Glen. So when people call Westchester upstate New York, it like skeeved me. I'm like, it's not upstate.
No, not even close.
Like, not even close. Like, come on.
We're 25 miles from Manhattan, so or less. Which is a cool
Now that
area.
could be that could be a 3-hour drive for 25 miles. But
yeah,
still
been there. I take the train more than ever now.
The Metro North.
Yep. Yeah. Which is interesting now because there's not as many riders. I guess it's starting to build up again, but it's not as crowded as it used to be.
It's never a bad thing. Never a bad thing.
No.
So I ask everyone who comes on here to give a little fun fact about themselves. So other than the fact that you've been in equipment finance since I was 1.
Oh, geez, thanks, Jesse. That makes me feel good.
Sorry.
It's all right. Fun fact: I'm an avid cyclist, so I like to ride bikes. I have been doing multiple sclerosis rides, MS 150s they're called, or MS rides. They do bike to drive, or they do one in Manhattan. It's kind of cool. I've done it. I think this is my 27th year in a row. So it's a fundraiser, and it kind of motivates me to get ready for it. It's usually, now it's in October. It's kind of late out here. Midwest, it was always in June, very hot. Here it's in October, and it's usually cold. But yeah, I love doing that. Good exercise, doesn't beat you up.
And what is the name of that? Sorry for looking down. What is the name of that, like, charity or foundation?
It's called Multiple Sclerosis Society.
Okay.
Or maybe National MS. If you look up, just type in MS, multiple sclerosis.
Okay.
Yeah, they have rides all over the country.
Well, one of the reasons I ask is, that's proportion of what EFC does, or Equipment Finance Cares. So as you do your next ride for multiple sclerosis, please reach out.
Cool.
And we raise money for individuals like yourselves who partake in these events. So
great.
Sorry for the shameless EFC plug here, but I didn't know that about you. So I might be reaching out on the side to talk a little further about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Because there's I don't know if you know the guys from Dext at all. Eric Gross does one of these. He does a bike ride around the state of Oregon for candle lighters, which is Children's Cancer Foundation. But
that sounds fun.
Well, we did a recording a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about himself in a bicycling outfit, and it's you can't unsee an image.
It's tough to pull off. A lot of tight stuff.
I don't know about this. I'll take an Uber, but regardless. But Jim, my last question I have for you. I mean, at the end of the day, why do business with Isuzu Finance?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I should be able to answer that really quickly. I think we have a passion for the business, and it's shown in our customer service and our relationship with dealers, because that's really our first customer. And then we treat the end users, who are our customers as well, but they're truly the dealer's customers first. So we'll never go to the end user direct. If we have off lease trucks or repos, we don't sell them to the public. So that's an advantage. And one thing I'm proud of, in 15 years, we've never sent a repo or off lease truck to an auction. So we've always tried to push them back through the dealer network. So we try to provide service, give as many tools in the tool belt as we can. I mean, it's not rocket science, but you want to be able to provide everything for the dealers and the customers. And that's what we try to do.
Well, excellent, sir. Well, I appreciate your time today. Probably be seeing you, what, October, Marco Island?
Yeah. Yeah. Finally got a room. So
In the main hotel, or are you in hotel D and F?
I have a couple. I have a couple reservations. I only have 2 nights in the main one, so I'm trying to get one more night there. But I have my backup. So
That's interesting. Just say you're not leaving. Like, no, you're not getting rid of my hotel.
yeah,
Sorry.
right. I'm here. Give me a room. Yeah. So yeah, and I always do that too late every year, but this year it cost me. So.
Well, all right, sir. Well, I appreciate your time. Well, not sir, Jim. Sorry, I need to correct myself there. Appreciate your time today, and thank you for sharing your story, and look forward to seeing you in October.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse.